Abuse of the Public Order Act 1986 is something we see all the time but rarely touch upon in reports on the channel. The Public Order Act is a tool that the police will abuse in many circumstances where there's been no breach of the Act, in a way to bolster any charges that they might have against someone because their original arrest is flimsy. Many people who get arrested on trumped-up charge that requires evidence will later have those charges dropped because there is no evidence, and instead, in an attempt to make it look like the police did nothing wrong, they'll turn to the good old Public Order Act, which in many sections quite literally doesn't need any evidence and relies on the police who's making the arrest to determine whether they themselves feel the behaviour of someone has breached the Act. This report is an example of just how that happens. Sunita Obhrai, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, was arrested by Thames Valley Police in 2015 after being accused of assaulting her friend's partner. Sunita was living in High Wycombe with her friend Ms Johnson when she came home one day and was told by Ms Johnson that the police had been looking for her. Sunita said she called the police and arranged an interview, but later that day she opened the door. When somebody knocked, she was confronted by the same police constable that she'd spoken to on the phone, who then proceeded to barge her way into her home and arrest her. Sunita discovered that she had been accused of suspicion of assaulting Ms Johnson's partner, Mr Mason. However, Mr Mason had not contacted the police himself and later told officers that no assault had actually taken place. And this is where the arrest broke down, as Sunita would have had to have had all charges dropped and released, but then this opens the police force up to a civil claim, and so in an attempt to justify the arrest, they decided to lay it on thick with a public order offence. Now, in many cases, this is where it would end, because people are either afraid to take the police on to clear their name, or are put off by the time it takes to fight back, as the police have a habit of stringing things out to the last available second in the hope the complainant gives up. This is why you must keep fighting back. In fact, I'm 3.5 years into my fight over an arrest outside the police station up the road in the video which started this channel. And for anyone who's new to this channel, I'll link those videos in the description. But I'm a stubborn bastard, and if I feel I'm right, I will never let anyone make me think otherwise. But Sunita is either as stubborn as or more stubborn than I, as she has been fighting since 2015. Well, when I say fighting, the stories that I've read suggest she took legal action in May this year and has already had a result of her claim, but I don't for a moment believe that that's the case. Sunita said she has struggled to cope mentally with the ordeal of being arrested that day, saying that, "I've been devastated, I have PTSD and I'm suicidal and depressed. It's turned my life upside down. All I do is think about it, going over and over in my head." At Oxford County Court in May, the judge ruled that unlawful imprisonment and unlawful trespass did take place, and only would have been appropriate if Sunita had not shown up to her interview at the police station. Although I disagree with that opinion. If it was a voluntary interview, then there is no need for trespass and imprisonment, especially as they clearly had no evidence and apparently no complaint was made by the alleged victim. But that's by the by. Thames Valley Police have now had to pay out around £52,000, £2,500 in damages to Sunita, and the rest in legal costs. Now, although the main beneficiary of legal action against police is the solicitors, and a couple of grand doesn't exactly make up for the time spent in worry, it still sends a signal that people are not going to stand for abuse of powers by the police. Unfortunately, the police get away with far more than they are held accountable for, and this gives them the mindset that they can continue to abuse the public at will, which will in turn mean more and more will abuse the public with spurious charges simply to try and justify their abuse. Matthew McConville of Irving's Law, who acted for Sunita, said, "All our clients have the right to expect integrity in the police service and should have confidence in police officers to act in a professional manner. Unfortunately, there has been a definite shortfall in the service that Ms Obhrai has received in this incident, and there are grave concerns over how Thames Valley Police dealt with it. Although this should never have occurred in the first place, we welcome the trial judge's decision and hope that Ms. Obhrai can now try and move on with her life. A Thames Valley Police spokesman said on the 16th of February 2015, a member of the public reported to the police that an assault had taken place in a vehicle in High Wycombe. The member of the public reported that the passenger, a woman, hit the driver, a man in his 80s. Thames Valley Police thoroughly investigated the report, and Sunita Obhrai became a suspect as part of that investigation. Now aged 60, was later convicted of a public order offence in relation to the incident. Subsequently, a civil claim was brought by Sunita against the force. Sunita alleged that she was wrongfully arrested in relation to the incident, one of the reasons being that she had already arranged with the officer of the case to participate in a voluntary interview. The officer in the case disputed Sunita's claim that a voluntary interview had been arranged at the time she was arrested. However, the judge found in favour of the claimant and ordered the force to pay damages. So if you yourself are faced with bullshit charges, or even if the charges are legit and you're not treated with dignity and respect, which is outlined in the Police's Code of Conduct and in the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, then I implore you to hold these people to account. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it can be frustrating, but by failing to do so, all you're doing is adding to the false impression that police have that they can continue to act this way with no accountability. And this, although might not mean much in our lifetime, will greatly affect our children far more. And I, for one, don't want my children to live in a world where police can do what they want with a sense of impunity, much like the direction we seem to be heading in right now.